Kelti and the Bluebird. Once upon a time, in a faraway land, lived a little girl called Kelti. She was a very pretty girl with long brown wavy hair and the bluest eyes you have ever seen. She was 9 years old and lived in a pretty little house with her mummy, daddy and baby brother Louis. Their house almost looked like a gingerbread house with its fancy roof, chocolate-coloured walls and pretty flowers growing everywhere. The house was in the middle of a forest, and most mornings as she opened her bedroom curtains, Kelti would look out of the window and watch the deer enjoying a delicious breakfast of sweet green grass while the tiny rabbits danced between their legs. It really was a beautiful sight and always brought a smile to Kelti's face. On the days that Kelti didn't have to go to school, she would play outside with her best friend Dougie. Dougie was a tiny dog who would fit perfectly into the secret pocket Kelti had in her jacket. And quite often that is where she would hide him when they were going on an adventure together. Dougie loved being with Kelti, and he especially loved being snuggled inside her secret pocket. Here he could feel her heart beating and instinctively knew he had to stay still and quiet. He enjoyed their adventures because there was always a special treat for him at the end. Today, Kelti did not have to go to school. As she opened her eyes, she noticed a sparkling light dancing through the tiny gap in her bedroom curtains. She jumped out of bed and opened her curtains wide, wondering what was sparkling. As she looked out of her window, she saw the sun was shining brightly onto the bird bath in the garden. Sitting on the edge of the bird bath was the prettiest little blue bird she had ever seen. Every time he took a drink, he moved the water with his beak, and the sunbeams created a beautiful sparkle which danced across the water. "Today is going to be special," Kelti said with excitement in her heart. She quickly got dressed into her favourite blue jeans and pink fluffy top, and then went downstairs into the kitchen where her mummy was feeding her brother his favourite breakfast of porridge and mashed bananas. He cooed happily when he saw his sister and laughed loudly when she tickled his cheek. "Good morning, Mummy and Louis," she said, and turning to her mummy, she gave her a biggest hug. "Did you sleep well, sweetheart?" her mummy asked. "Yes, I did, thank you. Has Daddy gone to work today?" "Yes, he has, but he will be home at lunchtime." Just then, Kelti saw Dougie come bounding into the kitchen through the dog flap in the back door. Before she could blink, he had jumped into her arms and started licking her face excitedly. "Good morning, monkey," Kelti giggled as she squeezed Dougie tightly. "Can I go out to play with Dougie after breakfast, please, Mummy?" "Yes, you can, but only for half an hour, as I need you to do some chores before your daddy comes home." Kelti gave Dougie a small handful of dog biscuits, and then she made herself a bowl of cereal for breakfast. When she had eaten and washed her bowl and spoon, she went up to the bathroom and washed her face and cleaned her teeth. Running back downstairs, she grabbed her jacket and shouted out, "See you soon, Mummy," as she ran out of the house and into the garden with Dougie running behind her. Looking over to the bird bath, Kelti noticed that the little bluebird was still there. She slowly walked over, and as she got closer, the bluebird flew off into the forest. "Come on, Dougie, let's follow him." Kelti started walking into the forest with Dougie close on her heels. The bluebird flew from tree to tree and seemed to be looking back each time to make sure that Kelti was following him. Eventually, the bluebird stopped and looked back one last time before he flew off and disappeared behind an oak tree. Kelti walked up to the oak tree and was amazed how big it was. She held her arms out wide and tried hugging the tree, but it was far wider than her arms would ever be. As she moved behind the big oak tree where the bluebird had disappeared, she saw Dougie was sniffing at the ground just near the base of the tree. "What's there, Dougie?" she asked. He continued sniffing and became very excited about something. "Here, boy, let me take a look," Kelti said as she moved him out of the way and knelt down on the ground. She looked in the area Dougie had been sniffing, and she could see the tiniest sparkle coming out of the dirt. Using her fingers, she began to dig around the sparkle, and suddenly her fingers unearthed the most beautiful pink crystal she had ever seen. It was the size of an egg and the shape of a diamond. Kelti held it up to the light, and suddenly a beam of sunlight shone through the trees and danced on the crystal, creating the most gorgeous sparkles. "Wow," Kelti said as she stared at the crystal. "Look, Dougie, how sparkly this is. What a beautiful present from the bluebird." Looking around, she tried to find the bluebird, but he was nowhere to be seen. Suddenly, Kelti stood up as she realised that she had been out for a long, long time. "Come on, Dougie, we have to get home. Mummy will be very cross with us for staying out for so long." Putting the pink crystal safely into the secret pocket in her jacket, she started to run out of the forest. Dougie thought this was fun and ran along beside her, yapping excitedly as he went. Kelti had not realised how far into the forest the bluebird had led her, and by the time she arrived back into her garden, she was exhausted. As she walked across the lawn to catch her breath, she could see her mummy in the kitchen playing with baby Louie. Kelti opened the back door, and before her mummy could say anything, she quickly said, "I'm so sorry, Mummy. I didn't mean to be out for so long." "Hey, you've only been gone a few minutes. You still have plenty of time to play." Kelti was shocked to hear this because she knew she had been gone for longer. But she also knew that her forest was magical. Smiling to herself, Kelti grabbed a treat for Dougie, and with him by her side, she went out into the garden, just in time to see the bluebird flying back onto the bird bath.